friends, this is your buddy Vince, and today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about motivation. So recently we were driving from a camping trip, and two of my friends on the back seat were talking about working out, exercising. And the gentleman has mentioned that he hasn't been exercising for a while, and because he has hard time finding motivation. And then I kind of started thinking about the topic and how many people are not doing something because they are not finding the proper motivation. And then I started thinking about the actual concept. What does motivation really mean? If you don't have motivation, does it mean you will not accomplish some things? Does it mean that you will get behind with things? And as you start researching, you start noticing that motivation, it might not exactly be what we are looking for. You see, the mere definition of word motivation, if you look in dictionary, is to provide motive. To provide motive for some action. For instance, the motivation for robbing a bank for the robbers was to get money. The motivation for the health savings account tax break is to help people save money for their health. And yet we see all the time different YouTube or influencers or gurus trying to sell us a bunch of different things, such as instructional videos or podcasts or working out videos or books or seminars, webinars, where they're gonna help you with motivation. You're gonna feel pumped up and you will feel gang-ho about doing this, and everything's gonna be great because you will be motivated. And unfortunately, this is not what motivation really means. So due to an influence of so many commercial campaigns, influencers, motivators, different companies trying to sell you all those programs, and life coaches telling you that you will not be able to accomplish anything unless you get their motivational instructions, or that you need the motivation in order to achieve anything. And our focus has shifted, thinking that in order to achieve anything in life or in personal health or in our finance or career, we need this magical motivation, and we won't be able to get anything without it. Whereas in real life, what you are looking for is not motivation, not that magical gang-ho feeling that yes, I want to do it, but another concept called discipline. Discipline is the opposite of procrastination. There is a concept called law of inertia, and that's taken from physics, means that bodies which are in motion stay in motion, and bodies which are stable, they stay stable, they stay inert. That concept has been borrowed from physics and been written about in a book called Compound Effect. And it is talking about the concept that you need a discipline and you need a constant momentum in order to get something done. For instance, the opposite of discipline is procrastination. You see, people are either progressing or they are decaying. And as much as you might think, you might like, oh, I get home and I just stay on my Instagram or I stay on social media and I'm not really progressing, but I'm not decaying. You are decaying. Because you see, the world and your competition is not staying inert. They are either going up or they are moving down. For instance, back in the days, bachelor's was perfectly enough to have. These days, in many jobs, it is nothing, it is a necessity. Back in the days, you could buy a house for much less than these days, and the wages were lower, and our athletic records are getting higher and higher. Records of speed, running or swimming are always being beaten, and our medicine is moving forward, and our technology is getting more advanced. So millennials are getting much more technological acumen than our parents or our grandparents. So whatever used to be, whatever used to be a standard, or pretty good standard a few years ago, these days it might be barely a minimum, and in the next few years it might not be even enough. So going back to the topic, you are either making yourself smarter and keeping up with the competition, with the workforce, and people, learning new systems these days, or you are staying here. But when you are staying here, the competition is evolving. So the gap is actually increasing because they were here, but now they are here, but you are still here. So you are kind of decaying. And you might think, maybe I could do all those things. Maybe I could be working out or reading books, but I just get home and I don't have the motivation. And that's fine. When you were doing homework, you didn't really have motivation. You weren't like, again, motivation by the concept, what we these days are taught to think of motivation. Because, as I mentioned before, motivation is just to provide motive. That's the minimum motive that you have in order to accomplish the task. It doesn't mean that every time you're gonna have that feeling of, yeah, I want to do this. I really feel pumped up about it. No, how many times you felt pumped out about doing homework at school? Probably never. Maybe once or twice, but yet you always did it. How many times you felt pumped up about eating? Yeah, sometimes you do, but you still eat every day, or drinking water, or going to the bathroom, or making your bed, or getting up in the morning. Before you wake up in the morning, do you dream like, yeah, I'm gonna be waking up in a second, that's gonna be really awesome? But despite that, you still continue doing it. Walking your dog, do you feel like, oh, I'm so motivated, he's gonna, empty his bladder and other things, and yeah, that's gonna be, I really so feel good? No, you don't think about it. You just go, you do it because you have the discipline, because this is your daily discipline, and this is what needs to be done, and you get it done. So do you really need that motivation in order to accomplish things? And you know the answer, because you do those things every day. And if you only could add that workout, or that 15 minutes or 20 minutes to your daily routine, to your discipline. You see, motivation is not always going to be there. Discipline will. Motivation is not gonna uh, be triggered. It's not some magical thing you can trigger every time before you have some bad task, and you can just get it and it appears, and yeah, now I'm gonna clean the garage. And you might, but you might not. Oh, a guru told you, or personal trainer, or a life coach, that they will provide this motivation for you. They're gonna be every time, telling you like, yeah, you're doing a good job. What if one day, if yeah, you're gonna be paying them, that's fine. What if one day, they are not there? The external motivation is weak, and it will not sustain you. It will be there whenever you are paying for it, and whenever that person is next to you, or whenever you are using their podcast, or listening to their podcast or their videos. But in the moment that leaves, you are on your own, and you're not gonna be sustained. Well, you would be with discipline. You don't need anything for discipline. You only need yourself, and discipline That will keep you strong when you are weak, and that will help you accomplish things when you don't want to. And discipline will, it will feel like your worst enemy, but it's actually your best friend. In words of a friend of a friend, his name is John Willing. He goes actually by Jacko Willing, and he has a great podcast, and he actually talks about discipline. And he, one of the concepts he talks about is unmitigated discipline in all things. And I'm not. If you haven't checked out that podcast, just go ahead and give it a try because it's really, really beneficial. But I'm not really talking about your discipline in all things, but at least in the things that you want to accomplish. So, going back to the answer, to answer the question of that my friend was talking about, that he would work out, but he just doesn't have the motivation, and you might not have that motivation. And if the motivation, meaning, again, what we think, you do have motivation because you have a motive. You want to be healthier and you want to look better and you want to live longer. But if you are thinking that motivation is that magical dragon that's gonna show up and just to lift you up, and now you have that good gut feeling because somebody is clapping to you and saying, "Yeah, go do it," and you are feeling so good, that might show up sometimes. But if that's what you want to rely on for your consistent progress, that will not happen. You need discipline. Believe me, discipline is much better than motivation. Motivation will not be there every day, will not be there every moment with you. Discipline will. And you can either encourage discipline or procrastination. One is the direct opposite of the other one. How do you develop discipline? You start with little thing. Little thing for, let's say, 3 days. Let's say you want to work out. You will go to the gym, or you will go to your garage, or get yourself weights at home. And you are going to go and touch those weights for 3 days. Don't do anything with them. Just touch them. Touch them, massage them if you want, and go doing your own things. For the next 3 days after that, you will go and you will lift those weights. You'll lift them 5 times. One exercise you'll do 5 times. For the next 3 days after that, you will go and you will actually do a one set of 10 reps. And you will leave them. You will go, you will not think about it twice. This is how you develop discipline. Slowly, slowly, until it becomes your routine, that you don't think about it. And you know what? The worst part of procrastination is that you have the feeling that those thoughts are coming to your head and you are thinking that you don't want to do this because it's not in your discipline. So it's a foreign idea and your mind is trying to reject it, and it will tell you like, oh, I don't have time for this, or I have something else to do. The truth is you do have time, because you can go to bed 5 minutes later, you can wake up 5 minutes earlier, you can check that Facebook or that Instagram 5 minutes less than you did yesterday, and you can make time. Nobody has time, you make time. We all have 24 hours, and it just, within that 24 hours, you can take that 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes or half an hour from something else. And I'm sure you are not working the full 24 hours or just working and just sleeping. I'm sure there are some spare times you can fit in between. So if you develop slowly that habit becomes slowly your discipline. And that will, my friend, it will take care of you like nothing else. And you don't need motivation, because you won't even think about it. And you will need motivation. And you will not need a guru or personal trainer to tell you what to do, because you will be in charge of your emotion and your discipline. Go get your discipline, and talk to you in the next video.